I have a lot of wealthy friends and I also have a lot of broke friends. And what I notice is that the behaviors are different, the conversations are different, and the attitudes are different. My wealthy friends are very much in a victor, I am responsible for everything mentality. My broke friends are often really stuck in the victim mentality. My wealthy friends spend time working out, working on their business, working on their relationship, spending time with their families, their kids. My broke friends often spend time watching a lot of sports, watching a lot of Netflix, scrolling a lot, complaining a lot, and consuming a lot of news. I find that my wealthy friends only consume news that's relevant to their industry or the thing that they're passionate about, where my broke friends consume news from every disaster ever, even if it's not relevant to them, everything going wrong, and are really in that echo chamber of going wrong.
Mm.
I also find that my wealthy friends, they talk about their self-development. They talk about working out, they talk about business, they talk about what they're excited about. They talk about, different like concepts of living in life. And my broke friends talk about celebrity gossip, they talk way more about sports, and they talk way more about news and what's going wrong. Interestingly, too, I think a lot of my broke friends talk a lot more about politics than my wealthy friends. And it's a super interesting dichotomy. And people get pissed when I say this. I'm like, I'm just sharing what I observed.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I got someone special who specializes as a personal branding expert and also specializes in a lot of really cool, controversial, I would say maybe not controversial, but maybe contrarian mindset, viewpoints, standpoints. I got Courtney Johnson live in the studio. What's up, Courtney? Welcome to the show.
We're gonna get a little spicy
We
today.
are going to get really spicy. And you might even end up down in Tulum with us for
I
our retreat.
know. That sounds so sick.
Yes, watch out. I'm so excited for our Tulum retreat happening soon. And big shout out to our guy, Cassidy Warren, for connecting us. Cassidy started his podcast 6 months ago, and it is getting so much traction, having big name guests on. Big shout out to our guy, Cassidy. First things first, you say a lot of times, I hear you say, nobody knows what they're doing. What do you mean by that?
Well, nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. The higher you climb in your business and entrepreneurial journey, you think there's finally going to be a level where people know what they're doing, but we are all just making it up along the way. Nobody knows what they're doing.
I agree with that. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Cuban, the best of the best. Even those guys, the only reason they become Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos is because they took action even though they don't know what they're doing.
They took action and they're delusional. The only people that become a CEO, that become president, that become an entrepreneur, that become a billionaire are the people that are delusional enough to think that they can do it. And I think what a lot of people struggle with is they're saying success is for someone else and not me. When in reality, you can just decide in a moment that, yeah, it is for me. I'm going to be delusional. I can do it too, because everybody's just pulling it out of their ass.
Mm. And I think it's easy, like if you're sitting at home scrolling social media and everyone's posting their wins and you're seeing everyone winning but you, it's easy to think like, man, everyone knows what they're doing but myself included. I mean, I got into business and real estate 6 years ago. I didn't know anything about business or real estate. And obviously, like I had a lot of those limiting beliefs as well. But then the more you do it and the more you grow in this game, the more you realize like everyone's just kind of shooting from the hip and you figure it out as you go.
Yeah, also action is really the only differentiator. Like, you've got a podcast, I've got a podcast. Would it be valuable for me to tell you how to rank in the top 4% of podcasts that have ever existed in the history of ever?
Just consistently posting podcasts.
You post 6 episodes.
Damn.
In order to rank in the top 4% of podcasts that have ever existed, you post 6 episodes. That is the bar, right? The reason why Joe Rogan is the #1 podcaster is because nobody else has 3,000 episodes. We think we have to have 10,000 hours of expertise, but it's really 10,000 iterations of doing the same thing over and over and over. And that is what separates the brokies from the success people. That is what separates the brokies from the successful people, is just showing up and doing the thing every day.
Yeah. And speaking of Joe Rogan, Joe might be the most powerful dude in the world right now. 3 episodes a week for 17 years. And look what it's done to his brand. He has the ability to pick up the phone and call presidents, ex-presidents, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, professional athletes, celebrities, movie stars, and any of those names out there will drop what they're doing to go hang out with Joe because of his podcast, because of his platform, not because of the UFC stuff, not because of the stand-up comedian stuff, but because of the podcast. It is a powerful thing. Everything's going long form. I say it all the time. I'm like, guys, in 2019, we had 274 million podcast listeners worldwide. We ended 2024 with 504 million listeners worldwide. The number of listeners is doubling every single 5 years like clockwork. Everything is going away from the television and into long form content. And I also say it's a hack if you're a content creator or you're a business owner, real estate investor looking to build your personal brand. Like, it's the biggest hack because you're building a cool platform. It's going to attract the network to you, right? But it's also the hack because you almost don't need to shoot as much short form content now. You just shoot the long form, you have an hour-long conversation, you chop up the shorts, and now you're hitting two metrics, your long form and your short form. It almost saves you time.
Yeah, it's the Gary Vee content pyramid, an upside down pyramid where you start with the long form content, you splice that, and then you never actually have to pick up your phone and create content unless you want
Yeah.
to. You can really create a
And
strong
short
system.
form is harder to shoot. Like, I feel like when you just have organic conversations with folks, like you and I are right now, it's like, yeah, we have some bullet points, some things that I want to cover, but you don't have to like script anything out. I feel like when you go shoot a bunch of short form content, you really have to like plan out the videos, and that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, but I love short form.
You do.
I love
Okay, so
short
break that
form.
down. Why do you like short form?
So in content creation, if you want to be a master of content creation, you need to balance the masculine side of content creation with the feminine side of content creation. Every single thing in the world has masculine and feminine energies. The masculine energy is grounded, it's repeatable, it's systems. The feminine energy is the creativity and the chaos. So the masculine side of content creation is having a system and having a process and knowing that you're going to have content go out. The feminine side of content creation is you're in the shower, you're driving down the road, you're on a walk, inspiration strikes, you post it immediately. So when you have a strong system, your creativity is freed up. So you can post those pieces of content as they come to you. And every single one of my viral pieces of content all come from I'm on a walk, I'm in the shower, I'm driving, and I'm going to be impulsive and record it on the spot. Because how many times do you think of a content idea, you put it in your notes app, and you're like, oh, I'll come back to that later. Do you actually ever come back to it? Probably not.
Yeah, and sometimes I agree. Like, if you have an idea, like, you just got to do it real time
Yeah.
and just shove it out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff is relevant too. Like, a lot of stuff that I might push out right away, it might be relevant in a hot topic based on some news that dropped, or maybe some cool thing that I just went through or experienced. I feel like you're going to show up as the best version of yourself, portraying and articulating your thoughts when it's like real time or just after it happens.
Totally. So there's also the balance of in the moment content versus evergreen content. Evergreen content you can repurpose as much as you want. In the moment content is like you're talking about news, you're talking about a new update, something that's time sensitive. So that's also really important to balance because if you only talk about news and current events, you're not going to be able to repurpose anything. Do you repurpose content?
I do all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do all the time.
I love it.
I think everyone should because, yeah, if you have something that really worked and got a lot of engagement 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it's like, okay, well, we can repurpose it, we can remix it and re-push that out. You already know that the hook is going to work or it's a topic that people are going to engage with. And a lot of this game, I feel like, is identifying what's working and identifying what's not working. And the content that works and people resonate with and engage with, it's like, okay, well, let's double down on that. And the stuff that no one engages with, it's like, let's table that.
Yeah. I just spent a mastermind with Jay Shetty a few days ago.
Love Jay Shetty. I've never met him though.
He's amazing. He broke down his entire content model, and he said his content model is just identifying his top performing posts and identifying other people's top performing posts, identifying the patterns in those posts and continuously recreating those patterns and iterating on those patterns. And I think that's so genius.
Yeah, if you look at Jay's Instagram, like a lot of his the Twitter posts are like actually from other people, and he'll repost them every like 2 months.
Yeah, I call
And
those
they pop off every time.
exactly because they're optimized
Yeah.
for sharing. And
Yeah.
in social media, the number one thing you want to optimize for is shares. So if you do a meme roundup, which is what he's doing, he's curating other people's content, putting it all together and putting that out. That is the most optimized content type for shares.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it's typically static posts, and then people can share it on their stories. It gives them a platform to share to their audience as well. And I agree with you. So why do you think it's the number of shares with these algorithms? Because I totally agree. I feel like these algorithms are becoming more and more sensitive, and they want to keep the people on the platform scrolling. And I tell people all the time, like, guys, if you go through all your content or you go look at other people's pages, you will see a direct correlation between the number of shares and the number of views. Why is that?
Well, shares is leveraging other people's audience. If I post something that you really resonate with and you reshare that, you post it on your Instagram story, you retweet it, you repost it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm literally borrowing your audience that you worked so many years to build. I don't have to put in that hard work. You're doing it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree with that. You also say that it's all fake. What do you mean when you say it's all fake?
Everything is fake. Our society, everything is fake. Our politics, made up.
This could be
Our
fake
s
right now. This could be
This
just
could be
this could
fake.
be AI.
This literally could be AI. Our social structures, fake. Every award you've ever gotten, fake. Your credentials are fake. This is even money is fake. This is all a collective agreement we're buying into. So when you realize everything is fake, you are much more able to easily make decisions, easily make moves, easily take risks because it doesn't hold the weight anymore of this big institutional structure in your consciousness.
Mm, mm. I could see it making it easier to like take action, knowing that
Yeah.
hey, everything is fake. Nobody knows what they're doing.
And also the credential thing. Like I call this a credential kink.
Okay, what
Like
does
if
that
you're
mean?
like, "Oh, well, I'll take action once I get my master's degree, once I go back to school, once I've completed these courses, once I have this certification, then I'll take action." That is having a credential kink. You are not taking action until you get the thing where you feel like it validates you, where you feel like someone gave you permission, but you have to give yourself permission.
It's also delaying though.
It's delaying,
Like
yeah.
I think a lot of people say like, oh, I don't want to get started because it just doesn't feel like the timing is right. I need to wait for this, and that to happen. But in all reality, the timing is never going to feel right for anything. Starting a business, buying a piece of real estate, starting a podcast. I mean, even people that have children, what do they say? They say, oh, I didn't think I was ready, but it was the best thing I ever did. And same thing with business owners. Like, I didn't feel like I was ready when I started, but it was the best thing I ever did. And maybe it wasn't the first business that got them to financial freedom. Maybe it was the third, fourth, or fifth business that got them there. But if they didn't start the first one and fail, they never would have ended up having the third or fourth business. And so, same thing with real estate. I'm like, guys, no one retires and gets rich off of their very first rental property. It just no, it happens to nobody. But that first rental property, at least for me, was a $350,000 property in Cincinnati. And like, am I interested in those kind of deals today? I'm not at all. They don't even get me out of bed. However, that first deal gave me the confidence to do the second deal and the third deal and the fourth deal. And then before you know it, you build a big thing, but it all started for that first one. And had I said, hey, the timing doesn't feel right, this is not comfortable, I'm not going to do it, I would still be stuck at ground one or square one. And I would have never built everything that I built today.
What you did right is you took action on the minimum viable product, the absolute easiest way to start and get in the energy and start to move forward. So you bought a cheap house in a easily accessible city, right? So in anything we're doing, you don't have to create a whole business plan. You don't have to have the perfect website or the perfect branding. It's how can I take one tiny step today? How can I take a imperfect, messy step rather than waiting until it's all perfect? Because procrastination happens because we have a set of circumstances we think we need to be qualified to do the thing.
That's so good. That's so good. I always say, if you don't have any confidence, it all starts with action, right? Action leads to competency, and competency leads to confidence. It's kind of funny how that works, but I couldn't agree with you more there. You got to take step one. You got to take action, and that's why I always say, like, stop listening to the people closest to you, and often that's friends, family members, coworkers, people that have never done the thing that you're looking to do, whether it's buying a piece of real estate or starting a podcast or starting that business or the side hustle. And start listening to people closest to your dreams. And that means getting in the right rooms, getting around people that have successfully done the thing that you're looking to do. You could even throw college into this conversation. Like, people go to business school, but it's like, dude, you're going to business school at a university, and these professors that are teaching business have never started a business before, but they're teaching young kids business. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense to me. You're learning from someone that is trading their time for money as an employee on how to start a business, and they never had a business before. And so that's why I say, stop listening to the people closest to you and start listening to people closest to your dreams. It's the quickest way to level up your life.
Yeah, fuck business schools and fuck business professors because they are sitting around all day theorizing about business rather than getting their hands wet, getting dirty, getting in the weeds, and actually doing it. And so many parts of our life, we do this, especially in procrastination. We theorize on what makes the perfect investment. We theorize on how to create the perfect piece of content. We theorize on how to make the best book. And a lot of times, if we get in the theorizing loop, we start getting in the criticizing loop. Then we're criticizing other people for putting themselves out there. We're criticizing other people's businesses. And if you don't have your own business, if you're not doing your own shit, you have no place to be criticizing. That's
Mm,
why you should not, exactly, should not listen to your family and friends.
yeah.
Like, fuck that.
Hmm.
Only listen to the people who are where you want to go.
100%. And then also like to take it a step further with like, universities and school structure. It's like business is not founded on like memorizing how to take a test and then dumping all the information. That's not how business is founded. Business is founded by like actually doing the thing, getting the reps in, getting the at bats in, knowing what works and doesn't work, and actually failing your way to the top. And so, when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But that's I also say like this time that we live in today, this era, if you're listening to this podcast right now, this era is the best time to be alive, regardless of all the hoopla out there, regardless of all the bad news in the marketplace. There's going to continue to be bad news. Like I made my big move during COVID in 2020 when the world was kind of shut down. That's when I was like really making my exit out of the day job. But the ability to access information today, we have YouTube, we have podcasts like this, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we have all these social media platforms, the ability to get into mastermind communities. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where mastermind communities wasn't really a thing, right? Think about our parents' generation, our grandparents, like they didn't have access to this stuff. And so our ability to access information today has never been easier. And I mean, think about podcasts is free. It's free to watch YouTube. Like some of this stuff is completely free. And so if you can't make it today and this opportunity in front of us today with the greatest transfer of wealth in American history about to go down, 40 million retiring baby boomers are retiring in the next 7 years. If this time period does not excite you, I don't know if there's ever going to be something that does excite you.
Yeah, historically, you needed massive money and privilege and access to share your story or publish your book or make your film or start your business. And now is the first time in all of human history you can publish your screenplay without a studio. You can start your business with $0. You can make a film just on YouTube. Like you can publish your book without a publisher. You have access to anything.
Hmm.
I
And you can live anywhere in the world.
and you can live anywhere in the world.
That's crazy.
Anybody can do it. I was at a mastermind this week and I met this girl from the Philippines. 5 years ago, she was making $300 a month as a virtual assistant.
Damn.
Now her business is doing $6 million a year.
Mm.
If she were to sit there and be like, well, I'm from the Philippines. There's not a lot of opportunity here. I can't do it. She would not be where she is today. And want to know how she learned? YouTube. YouTube is free. YouTube University is free. I don't know why people are ignoring this.
I know. It's crazy to think about. I mean, Thatch Nin, who has been on this podcast, the dude literally came out here from Vietnam with $100 to his name, a suitcase, and his whole family was like refugees from the war. And they didn't speak a lick of English. They were like put up in Camp Pendleton and like a refugee camp out here and no English. And the dude's built a big ass empire. And so I'm like, okay, he's not a sexy girl on fangirls that's getting all this attention from other people online. Doesn't speak English, didn't have any money to his name, didn't know anything about business or real estate. He came over here and built an empire. So it's like, if he can do it, anyone can do it. There's no excuses.
Yeah, I think it's being able to see that it's possible.
Yes.
Success is possible for anybody. For anybody. The initiation to success is just believing that it's possible for you. So my best advice is find people who have your similar journey. Find people who have a similar background as you and read their story, watch their story, start to consume their content. That is going to show you that it's possible.
I love that. So for the folks listening to this right now and, maybe they're working a 9-to-5 W-2, or maybe they're self-employed, and they're like, you know what? They feel stuck. They're like, this is not my long-term thing. I want to use business, real estate, entrepreneurship as an exit out of my 9 to 5, but I need to replace my income. What would your advice be to that person?
I would tell them, cheat on your job. Like, cheat on your job. Get yourself a side hoe, aka a side hustle. Make a digital product, start freelancing on the side, get into real estate, start dipping your toes in the waters. So when you do leave, you have that basis of understanding and experience around business. I think the easiest way you can do this today is go on a tool like gumroad.com, make a digital product, list it for $5, and just go experience what it's like making money on the internet. Because the hard part is not going from 100,000 to a million or a million to 10 million. The hardest part is going from 0 to 1. But if you can make $1 on the internet, you can make $10. If you can make $10, you can make 100. And if you can make 100, you can make 100,000.
Yeah, that's really good. What was the side hustle site that you said? What is
Gumroad.com.
that?
It's a digital product site that also has a marketplace. So you don't really have to do a lot of advertising. They advertise for you. There's a really cool model where you can give up a portion of your revenue
Okay.
in exchange for advertising. So I say I will give up 50% of what I'm earning for you guys to put that money into ads, and I don't really have to touch it or promote it that much.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you with everything you said. And in addition to that, it's like, okay, well, if you are working a 9 to 5, I had a full-time government career as an air traffic controller, and I was working a lot of overtime, 6 days a week, 56 hours a week. And I still had the time on the way to work, in between on my breaks, and on the way home from work, my weekends, nighttime. I still had the time to like study, work on the side hustle, and start building the real estate stuff on the side. And so if you're only working 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, it's like, well, you have 5 to 9 when you get off. You also have the weekends. And like, you go through seasons if you really want this game bad enough to where you got to sacrifice certain things. So for me, I stopped going out for like 9 months. I literally all I did was study real estate. I started going to networking events in the real estate space before I owned any real estate. And I just knew it was not a matter of if, it was just a matter of when. And sometimes you got to go through those seasons where you sacrifice certain things if you want it bad enough. And if you're cut out for this game, you're going to do it.
If you don't feel like you have enough time to start a business, I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to open your phone. You're going to go to the settings button, and you're going to type in the search bar, screen time. And you're going to show me your screen time.
Yeah.
And you're going to put those hours into starting your business.
That's so good.
Because you don't have time is bullshit.
What is the average American average per day on the screen, you think?
I think it's 7.
Is that right?
I'm not sure. We might have to fact check
Oscar,
this.
look that up for us if you don't mind. I'm curious. What is the average screen time per American per day?
You know what I did when I decided to get the fuck out of my 9 to 5? I threw away my TV. I literally threw it in the trash can. No. 7.
Oscar says 7 to 5 hours.
Okay. Yeah, that's 7 hours a day.
That's
is plenty
insane.
of time to build your business.
How do people have that much time? 7 hours. I would have thought it was closer to 3.
I think we could probably subtract like 2 hours for admin things or maybe listening to music or podcasts, checking email. But that's 5 hours you can spend creating. The problem is we consume more than we create. And that's really, really bad. Our brains and our bodies are not meant for that. We need to consume. So I also tell my clients, even if you're consuming, I get it. You want to scroll, you want to watch, whatever. At least balance that time. If you're watching an hour of Netflix per day, at least create something for an hour per day.
Yeah, agreed. What was your day job that you got out of?
I ran social media at a tech startup, primarily focused on the CEO's personal brand.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you took the skills that you learned there to go start your own thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just realized that I was making all of these founders ultra successful by building their personal brand. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do it for myself.
Yeah, I love that. So I've heard you say that if you pick like one platform and go really deep on that one platform and say no to everything else, everything can change in 12 months.
Yeah.
Break that down.
If you pick one platform and post every single day for an entire year, you will never have to worry about money again. Your life will look completely different 365 days from now. And I don't mean not worrying about money like you're going to have millions of dollars flooding your bank account magically. What I mean is if you pick one platform and post every single day for an entire year, you will always have an opportunity to monetize. You will always have that deal. You will always have a new client. You will always have a new project to work on. Because when you're visible, opportunities come to you. Because the thing is, people are already looking for you right now. People are on Instagram, they're on LinkedIn, they're in the search bar searching graphic designer, executive coach, yoga teacher, personal trainer. They are looking for you. Make it easy for them to find you.
Mm, I like that. So if you were to pick one platform, which one is it? Which one should it be?
Oh, it depends on your goals.
Okay.
I love recommending LinkedIn just because it's super easy, especially if your goal is speaking or fundraising. TikTok is super easy if you are younger and are really into pop culture and understand pop culture. But I would say my strongest platform in terms of monetization and quality of my audience is Instagram. What's
Yeah.
your top platform?
I started, it's funny you say this because when I started, I just went all in on one platform and it was Instagram. And because at the time I didn't have a rhyme or reason to it, I just thought, oh, everyone's on Instagram. It's the most popular, at least for like my age group where I live today. But now looking back, I realize out of all the platforms out there, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and then you got like the long form, Apple Podcast, Spotify. I would say out of all those audiences, hands down the most valuable audience in terms of like net worth, ROI, they're going to be the action takers. Those are going to become your best customers for most people's
Wait, can
businesses.
I guess what you're gonna say?
Yeah, go ahead.
YouTube?
I'm going to say it's anything long form.
Okay.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube has both long form and short form. I put that up there. And then as far as the short form only platforms, for us, it's Instagram. Because the DM feature is very prevalent, but also like more of our avatar, which is like, we have limited partners that invest. And so these are accredited investors and that sort of thing. They're not hanging out on TikTok. You see what I'm saying? And so for us, we don't really care if we grow on TikTok, but it's a great testing mechanism and a great testing platform. But Instagram, you get the DM function. YouTube, you don't have the DM. So you got to have some more strategic call to actions to landing pages and stuff like that. Or maybe on YouTube, I see some people say, hey, go DM me on Instagram. But Instagram, you got the DM. And that's huge. And so if you're a business owner, you can put a setter in your DMs, and that opens up a whole nother, opportunity for you.
Yeah. By the way, such a good side hustle right now is being a Instagram DM setter.
Okay. Yeah, it is. A lot of them will get on average, 5% on cash collected. And if you're working on a good account, like you could be bringing in some serious dough.
I'm hiring one right now,
Are
so
you?
slide in my DMs,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Yeah, setters are next level. What is I'm curious, out of curiosity, like, because one thing to grow your personal brand, right? But it's a whole nother thing to monetize your personal brand, right? And so it's like the right calls to actions, the right funnels. Where are you going to take people to get them off the platform into your own ecosystem? Are you running paid ads? Are you running webinars? And so for you, what's your best call to actions and funnels from social media to get people from social to your ecosystem?
My best performing funnel right now is webinars. So I don't call them webinars. I'll call it a masterclass or a workshop. And what I will do to get people in is I have my super secret information. I've kind of got my behind the scenes tips that I give. So usually I bring people in because I'm going to give them one of those secrets. Jason Fladian, I think is his name. He's the webinar guy. I followed his framework and now I have a 10% conversion on all my webinars super consistently, which is really, really high. So I send people from social to my webinars and convert them on my webinars to like my smaller, like my $1,500 offers.
Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. For us, webinars perform very, very well. Very, very well. And for certain things, though, I would say, especially for the higher ticket stuff, because you got to warm people up, right? You got to warm people up. So like for hotel investing, our hotel investing community, the webinar works very well because you get people on we'll talk about why hotels, why Airbnb is going away. We'll run through some case studies of our stuff. We'll do plenty of Q&A. We'll do a giveaway, and then have a CTA for those on the call that want to take the next step and want to learn more. And those perform very, very well. Something that also works well is running paid ads. A lot of people run paid ads to a VSL, like a landing page with a VSL, and then a button to book like a call. But it's hard to convert cold traffic from a 10-minute VSL to a book call for a high ticket offer. But if you warm up the cold audience on a 1-hour webinar, then they're a lot more likely to take the next step.
Yeah. I'm actually building out that funnel right now too of application to VSL. So I'm super curious how that's gonna perform. I haven't done VSLs before. Like, everything is webinar or sales calls. So that will allow me to scale a little bit more for some of my offers.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, outside of the webinar, what is another good lead magnet for you?
Honestly, I send people direct to purchase, but that's for a product I have that's only $200 a month. So it's
Got it.
pretty easy to get people like straight from my stories or straight from the DMs to purchase. But since that's so low ticket, people really get used to me. They see how much value they get for something that's only 200 bucks and they're coming back. It's like I call them popcorn buckets. So we have our small popcorn, which is something that's free, and free products aren't really free. Someone's exchanging their time and email address for it. So if they're happy with that and they trust you, they're going to buy your medium popcorn, which might be $100, $200. If they eat that popcorn, they're seeing an ROI, they're happy with it. They want to upgrade to the big popcorn, and that might be your 5, 15, 30, $50,000 offer.
Yeah, I love that. That's really good. You mentioned LinkedIn. What's the game over there on LinkedIn? And who's the perfect ideal person that should be on LinkedIn creating over there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a billion people on LinkedIn and less than 2% post regularly. Regularly meaning one time per week. So if you can just post once per week on LinkedIn, you're already going to be in the top 2% of the entire platform. That's a really low bar. Now, if your profile is optimized and you're engaging for, I don't know, 5 minutes a day, you're going to be in the top 1% of LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is boring as fuck. Like, people are really boring on LinkedIn. So if you can just have a single iota of personality, you're going to be in the top fraction of a percent on LinkedIn. I just use my content from every other platform on LinkedIn. I post videos, I post carousels, etc. But what's special about LinkedIn, you're not going to get a ton of likes and comments and views because most people are LinkedIn lurkers. What you will get is a ton of credibility and a ton of SEO power. Specifically, LinkedIn articles index really, really fast and have really strong SEO.
Interesting. Yeah, we just started posting on LinkedIn. I don't know how the platform works, but like I mentioned before we started recording, we took all the same content that we're posting organically on Instagram and we started posting on Facebook like 4 months ago. And the Facebook's like popping off right now, growing really quickly. But at first there was no engagement. And then I looked a month later, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like all popping off. And so I'm like, well, what if we run the same playbook on LinkedIn? And my team's like, no, it's got to be a little bit different strategy. And I was like, well, let's just try for 30 days, just repurpose the same thing that's already working. And then if it doesn't perform, we can switch up the strategy. So sure enough, it's not performing. We're not getting engagement on LinkedIn. And so I'm gonna have to switch it up a little bit. So we'll have to look into like what that might look like.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But
Yeah,
here's the
I'll,
other
I'll
thing.
look. I'll look at your LinkedIn. I'll send you
Okay,
some
okay.
suggestions.
But here's the thing. It's like, to your point, picking one platform and becoming really good at that one platform, every platform interacts a little bit differently. And so the chances that you're just going to shove something out on one platform because it works on another one is low. I think the reason why Facebook works well is because, I mean, Facebook and Instagram is all meta. So there's a lot of like carryover there. And I think the reason why you can grow on Facebook quicker right now is because undervalued attention. I think there's less people creating on Facebook and more people scrolling. And I think Instagram is a little bit more congested.
Totally.
You agree with that?
Yeah, yeah. But when people say something is congested or saturated, I'm like, but is it? Because yes, whatever. Maybe there's a lot of people posting, but most people don't continue to post. So there's two games. There's two games when it comes to content mastery. The first game is the game of consistency. Are you even physically able to stay consistent on a platform? That is the first game to master. Throughout that consistency, you're going to master the individual platform. So again, it's really important to focus on one platform at first. The second game is the game of optimization. So a problem, something that really annoys me is my clients will come to me, never posted anything in their life. Courtney, what's the best date to post? What's the best time of day to post? Should I post X format or Y format? Like, none of that matters unless you've mastered the game of actually posting. But if you ask me, and I could look at the data of your last 6 months of posts, of course I can tell you the best time of day. Of course I can give you the strategy. Of course I can tell you the best content type and the best hooks and frameworks and whatever. But if you have no content and you're just starting and you're in the analysis paralysis of, oh, but it has to be perfect, you're never going to succeed. Master consistency and then master optimization because there's two different games.
Mm. Yeah, it's so good. And I think that's also why, like, you need to set up some if you're struggling to be consistent, I think it's very important to set up some sort of accountability. So either a weekly KPI that either you own or someone on your team owns, maybe you have a VA, but they gotta own it. And it's like, okay, well, how many times do you wanna post throughout the week? Once a day, that's 7 posts. Twice a day is 14. Figure out what that is for you, or maybe it's 10, right? There was a portion in time where I started a lot of us start with, like, 1 a day as the benchmark, so it's like 7 a week. And then from 7, I was like, "Okay, let's do 10 a week," which would be basically 1 a day, but 3 days out of the week, I'm gonna post twice. And then now it's 14. So it's like, I think 14 is kind of the sweet spot on Instagram. I feel like once you go up to 3 a day, your reach starts to get a little bit jeopardized, but I think, at least for us, 2 a day is kind of the benchmark, but I think knowing your numbers, setting up some sort of accountability, maybe getting in the right rooms, is also important. But I also say if you wanna get used to posting once a day and being consistent, the best way to do it is to make yourself post twice a day for an entire week.
That's
And then you
great.
go from twice a day back to 1 a day, and you're like, "Oh, it's easy." It's like when you're going to the gym lifting weights, it's like go up and weight, and then when you go back down, like, "Oh, this is not a big deal." And then if you wanna get used to, posting twice a day, make yourself post 3 times a day for an entire week, and you go back to twice a day, and you're like, "Oh, this is easy. I got
I
this."
love that. That's so genius.
Yeah, so I teach that, and I did that. I did that for a while to get kinda conditioned and that sort of thing. I still post everything on my Instagram, even though we have a team. I got a couple full-time editors on payroll, and, they're great, and I bonus them out for, like, editing, like, and the amount of views we get per month on different pieces of content, but they're great. But even that said, I still love doing all my Instagram, my stuff. I do all my stories, I do all the posting, I do all the captions, everything, because I actually enjoy it. And I do feel like you will get better results if you actually enjoy it and you're good at it, if it's you doing it versus, like, delegating it out. So I don't think I'll ever delegate that out.
I have a balance. I have a team that repurposes some of my content and helps with captions and help editing, and then I insert with my creativity and the ideas that are coming to me, so it's a nice balance. But you definitely can't be at that volume without support. But it's so easy to access support now, like, go on Upwork, find someone, budget, like, a few $100s a month in content creation help.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, I also say this to anyone listening to this that's like, "Man, you're struggling to, like, get started or you're struggling to be consistent." I would challenge you and say, like, you're looking at it the wrong way. So if you're in business or you're in real estate, or maybe you're self-employed and you're, like, in sales, like, look, everything that's challenging right now in your life, or everything in your life right now that you want more of or it needs to improve, if you change your approach and say, "Hey, I'm gonna make personal branding the number one thing and the number one priority," then everything else is gonna become easier as a function of it. You're gonna make more money, you're gonna get more leads, your ability to hire and retain good quality people, your network is gonna level up. Like, everything is gonna level up as a function of it if you make content and the personal branding the main hustle, and then everything else the second hustle, right? Because for me, at first it was like real estate investing is the main hustle, but when I flipped that and I said personal branding is the main hustle, everything became easier.
Yeah. Yeah, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan have a really good book called The One Thing. I'm sure you've read it.
Uh-huh.
It's
I haven't
awesome.
read it,
Oh,
no.
you haven't? It
Mm-mm.
poses the question of what is the one thing
'Kay.
that makes everything else easier or unnecessary, and you do that the first thing in the morning. And for many people, it's personal brand because personal brand removes a huge element of the marketing needs, of sales needs, of just like building trust. It attracts opportunities, like so many functions of your business that you would need to manually do either disappear or become a lot easier with personal brand. So I actually have a really cool process where I sit down with all my clients every single day on Zoom, every weekday, 8 to 9 AM. I'm like, here's exactly what you're posting today. Go post it. You cannot leave this Zoom until you click post. And it's this like accountability where they have to do it because I already do that. I already spend 8 to 9 AM every day posting. So I'm like, how can I monetize the time that I'm spending on what I'm already doing? I'm
Mm.
curious if you do that too. Just how do you
Yeah.
monetize what you're already doing?
I always say, like, as far as, like, structuring your day, you should do the most important things first. So for me, it's like fitness, and it's getting some sort of, like, content out. And so I typically go to the gym first thing in the morning, and then the next thing I do is I'm getting some piece of content out. And we all open our phones and we have, like, we're flooded with emails and text messages, but think about leverage, right? And one of the reasons I love social media is because the amount of leverage that you get out of it in terms of, like, It's one input, but like the output might be 100x or 1,000x or maybe a million x, depending on the video or the piece of content you're putting out. So it's like, okay, if I go respond to this one email, that's a one-to-one leverage. If I go respond to someone's individual text, that's a one-to-one leverage. And yes, it's important to get to all that stuff, but if you prioritize that piece of content, you might get 1,000 views, you might get 20,000 views, you might get 200,000 views, and it took you 5 minutes or less to post that. That is a huge form of leverage. And that's why I always say you should prioritize that as the first thing you do every day,
Mhm.
you know?
Do you think everyone needs a personal brand, or are there some people where you're like, "Nah, you don't need it?"
I don't think that it's for everybody, but at the same token, I'll say this. If you're listening to this right now and you don't feel like you're natural on camera, or you don't like the way that your voice sounds and you don't feel like you're cut out for it, or maybe you get nervous or you just don't like your speech right, I think that's a big limiting belief because when I started my first podcast, like I was terrible and I did not feel like a natural. I was nervous. I remember my first in-person podcast as a guest. I was like, whoa, this is different. This is like, there's lights, there's people watching, there's cameras. And I remember being so nervous in the middle of the podcast. We had to stop the podcast because my hands were sweating all over the table. And so, like anything in life, I always say, like, if you put in the reps and you put in the at bats and you do something enough over and over and over, you will become pretty damn good at it and it will become natural. It will become fluid. And so, like, what you guys hear today, like me jumping on this podcast with Courtney, this is not how it was day one. It was not how it was day 60. Oscar knows, like, he's been with me since the jump. And it's just all about the reps and the at bats. And that's not just content. It's not just podcasting. That's everything. It's business, it's real estate, it's relationships, dating. Like everything gets better with the reps.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like learning an instrument.
Hmm.
Content creation is like learning an instrument, but publicly. Imagine learning guitar and live streaming how bad you are at guitar. You would never pick up a guitar on the first day of a music lesson and say, "Wow, I suck at guitar. I can't do it." That would be an unreasonable thing to say. Of course, we know if you want to be good at playing an instrument, you have to play it every day for a few years, and then you're good at playing an instrument. Content creation is the same. You're not bad at content creation. You just haven't done it every day for a few years. There is nobody that creates content every single day for years and ends up sucking at it 10 years from now. Maybe there's some people that are better than others, but you're right. It is the reps you put in, it is the iterations. You are not bad at it. You just haven't had enough reps.
That's so good. Now, this is where I have a problem with what you asked me. Should everyone be putting out content? I think that not everyone should be educating. And what I mean by that is this. I see people out there that are educating on things they've never done before, or maybe they've only done it once, or maybe they're just learning to do the thing. And then they're trying to educate others on how to do it in order to build their personal brand. If it's your first real estate deal, like you shouldn't be educating, but you should be documenting the process. You should be documenting your journey. Hey guys, like I'm touring this real estate deal today, or this is what I learned today on real estate. This is what I learned on buying an apartment building, or whatever it might be. This is my goal. This is my vision. Talk about the journey and talk about your vision and talk about what you're doing real time, but don't educate people if you've never done the thing before. And that's where I have a problem with it. Also, I think there's a lot of masterminds popping up left and right with people that have done the thing one time and then now they're going to go start a coaching business on how to do it. And they're not interested in buying real estate anymore, but they're going to teach people how to buy real estate.
Mm,
That's where I have a problem.
yeah. I think of it like an infinite ladder. There's always going to be people that know more than you and know less than you. Teach people one or two steps below you on the ladder. So I love what you're saying. Document the process. Don't necessarily teach as an expert, but I think of the example of like a doctor. Let's say you're like, "Yo, Courtney, this is my first day of medical school. I don't know anything about being a doctor. I am not." Of course, maybe don't post medical advice, but what you can post is, how did you get into med school? How are you studying? Why did you choose that school? What are some organizational things that you're learning, right? All of the framework of documenting what you're doing teaches people two steps below you on the ladder. So exactly what you're saying, document, and then when you're in the place, like teach. But again, if you just look at two steps below you on the ladder, you can always teach that person.
Yeah,
So maybe
absolutely.
maybe for this example, it's their first real estate deal. How did they save the money? How did they, get their first loan or whatever? Like that might be some things that they can educate on. Maybe not how to properly assess a deal if it's their first one.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that if you're like brand new and like whatever this new niche is, the best thing you can do if you want to start building your brand is start a podcast And you don't need to be the thought leader on the podcast. You just start interviewing experts in that field. I did the same thing with my first podcast. This is my second one. I broke up. I started investing in real estate. I had a couple partners, and we had a podcast together. We started like buying apartments. I was brand new to apartment investing. I didn't know what I was doing, but I said, guys, let's start a podcast in the apartment investing space, and let's just start interviewing expert apartment investors. And so by doing that, it solved two things. For one, I got to ask the legitimate questions that I wanted to know, and so it was a learning mechanism. And then by me asking the guests all these questions that I wanted to know, the listeners are also benefiting from it. And then eventually, people started to view me as a thought leader in the space because I'm now having these conversations with people that are a lot smarter than me. And so as a byproduct of it, it started to build the brand and people started to trust me. And so I think if you're brand new to whatever the thing is, one of the best things you can do if you want to build the personal brand is just start a platform and start interviewing experts. And it's also going to get you in the room with those experts as well.
Yeah, there's a book called Content-Based Networking, and the whole idea of it is how to have conversations with people that might charge 10, 20, $50,000 for an hour of their time just by creating your own audience. So genius. Like the connections are just an incredible byproduct of having a podcast. I also think that Tim Ferriss is a really good example of somebody that actually doesn't create his own content. He only curates. Even his books, they're curations of advice that he got from other people. They're quotes from other people. His newsletter is resources, YouTube videos, podcasts that he consumes. Most of his content is content curation, not content creation. So I also think there's this huge third space for content curators instead of just creators or interviewers that's really emerging right now.
Mm. And what is the difference? What does a content curator mean?
I would say a content curator is, I read this book, here are the 3 things you need to know from it, I cut all the fluff. Or, I've watched all of these YouTube videos about coding, here are the only 2 channels that have really, really helped, and from these 2 channels, here's a curriculum based off of their top performing videos that's gonna help you learn this skill. So they consume a lot, they get rid of the fluff, and they curate the best pieces for you and for others.
I love that. And that type of content gets a lot of saves. It
Yeah.
gets a lot of shares. And that typically is what leads to a lot of views with most of these algorithms. So I do like that as a growing mechanism if you're new. Yeah. One of the things that I was going to say is, you know, a lot of people ask me, to your point, they're like, how do I build like a cool network? How do I build like a good network of people that are doing the thing that I'm looking to do? Like, what's the best way? Should I go to meetups? Should I go to conferences? And I'm like, dude, honestly, the best thing you could do is just build a really dope platform and watch the network come to you. Whether it's a monthly meetup that you start, and then now all people want to come to your meetup, or maybe a podcast, and now this network wants to come to you. You have access all of a sudden to people that, if you didn't have the platform, might charge $100,000 to have a 30-minute conversation with them. And now you get access to them for free. And then, by the way, after all these conversations, I typically become genuine friends with all of my guests. And then we end up hanging out after and doing other podcasts and like collaborating in other ways. And you never know what kind of doors or opportunities those relationships will lead to. And I think that's one of the biggest hacks of having a platform.
Totally. The best way to grow your network is by, honestly, if you want to grow your network with cool, successful people, be a cool, successful person and people will gravitate towards you. Grow your network. And I have a really spicy take on
Let's hear it.
another way to grow your network.
We like all the spice.
Pay for your friends.
Mm.
So in college, there was the sorority and fraternity recruitment, and I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm not paying for my friends. And when I got to be an entrepreneur, I realized, oh, paying to be in these circles, paying to go to these masterminds, these retreats, paying to be members of these clubs actually gets you fantastic network. And so I used to think paying for your friends is a scam. It's stupid. It's silly. It's what losers do. Now I realize every single ultra successful person I know pays for their friends.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And honestly, like, because it weeds out all the people that are not serious and are not committed to really winning. And so when you get into these rooms with like-minded individuals, forward-thinking, abundance mindset individuals, it's not a matter of if, winning just happens. And that's why I say, like, the best thing you can do is put yourself in a room full of winners, and then you will all of a sudden become a winner as a byproduct of it. It just
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. And
It's kind of crazy how that works, right?
it's wild. It's a part of business. Like, I truly think that you should have a line item, obviously for self-development, but also for connection development. And obviously you get to points where you don't have to do that anymore, right? Like the example of Joe Rogan, I don't think he needs to like pay to be in any spaces, but as you're growing, it's so valuable.
Yeah. So cringe equals cash flow.
Cringe equals cash
What does
flow.
that mean?
Yeah, cringe equals cash flow. The thing you want is on the other side of cringe. That next level, that next opportunity, the thing in between you and what you want is your ability to sit with the physical discomfort of being cringe. That might be the physical discomfort of sending 500 cold emails. That might be the physical discomfort of getting on stage and speaking. That might be the physical discomfort of sharing something that you're a little nervous to share on social media. But if you do not have the ability to sit with the cringe and sit with the uncomfortable feelings in your body, you will never be successful.
That's so good. Yeah, Wes Watson said, he was on one of our community calls as a guest speaker, and he said someone was asking him, "How do I know what I should be posting? Because sometimes I get a little bit gun shy with the posting." And Wes told him, "That thing that you're most uncomfortable to post," he's like, "That's exactly what you should be posting." And it's exactly to your point. The cringe equals money, and the more you can post the things that make you vulnerable or not willing to post, I think the more money that you'll make.
Absolutely. And oftentimes, like when my clients tell me what they're cringed out to post, it could be something as simple as like, I'm cringed when I ask for something. Maybe they want more speaking opportunities. I'm like, okay, go post that you want more speaking opportunities. Oh, well, I'm afraid of asking. And what I can do is like trace back the story. Well, what's the story that they're creating? If I ask, then I'm going to be needy or annoying. You can actually trace back like where that comes from, like what trauma caused that story and work that backwards to almost like remedy that wound. But what we don't realize and what we nobody talks about is our fear of being seen and our cringe comes from times in our childhood where it was not safe to be seen. That could be like big T trauma and you're like hiding in a closet because if you are seen, you will be injured. Or little T trauma, like you're at a dance recital and you fall and you embarrass yourself. But what happens in those moments is our bodies program us to think it is not safe to be seen and they're trying to protect us. So when we get to adulthood and we are on our journey of self development and entrepreneurship, we have the opportunity to transmute those things. But it really takes a high level of vulnerability and ability to sit with discomfort to really undo and rewrite those stories.
Yeah, that's really good. I always say months is the best way to measure how much time we have left, not years. And so I just turned 40. And so average life expectancy for a male in the US is 77. I have about 430 some months left on this planet until that age. And so I think about this stuff when I'm making a tough decision or a decision to put myself out there when I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to post that. I don't know if I want to put myself in that situation. But I think about how many months I have left. And in all reality, like that's going to go by like that. And for me, it makes it a little bit easier to frame decision making, taking risk, betting on myself when I ask myself how many months I have left.
Damn, that's powerful. Memento mori, right? Think about your death or ponder
Mm,
your death.
yes,
Whew,
it's heavy.
that's heavy,
Yes.
but true.
Women need to reject hustle culture. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, women need to reject the hustle culture. We are not meant to work like men. We have different strengths. We have different talents. We have different ways that we work. And I
Mhm.
know this is like a problematic thing to say,
Yes.
but women, we work in cycles. We don't have the ability like men do to wake up and do the exact same thing every single day, right? Our body literally works in cycles. So I like to kind of cycle my work in more sprints or creative weeks or more admin weeks. Um, and I think if we only learn from men, or we only learn from like masculine containers, a lot of times we don't actually learn. We think we're behind, right? And then also we have different superpowers as women. We are really, really intuitive. We are really good with emotional intelligence. We are really good at building relationships. So, again, a lot of times women will try to copy men and mimic men, and women will never be as good at being men as men are, right? So, when we lean into our own strengths and kind of surrender to the fact that we are different and we can still play to win, that's when you really take off. But I truly believe I truly believe the reason why we have this gender pay gap and why women are, you know, not as in power as men is because we try to work like them.
Mm.
Instead, we need to work like women.
Mhm. It's interesting you say that because if you look at my team, my leadership team, it's primarily all women. I know Morby primarily hires women as well. What I've found is they work harder, they're more loyal, they're less sensitive than men in the workplace. Also, I feel like when we have investors or community members that join our stuff, women are very decisive and they can give you a yes or no answer where a lot of men need to think about it and they struggle to make decisions. We've noticed that. It's actually not even close from our sample size. So it's kinda ironic how that, kinda shifts out, but Pace Morby does it, I do it. I actually prefer working with women in the workplace.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's like we're different and we get to have a balance in our energy, right? I also hire primarily women. I think it's 'cause I relate to women more, as a woman, right? And, like, they kind of match my working cycle, but I agree. I think men get to step up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Alright, so, next up, life is a giant mirror. What do you mean by that?
Every single thing that happens in your reality, you caused. You are responsible for. Of course, you're not responsible for your childhood or the shit that happened to you. You did not cause that, but it is your responsibility to be with that, right? A lot of times we get into victim of like, oh, this thing happened to me, or I can't do that because blah, 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 blah. And we create these really disempowering stories. But the truth is, everything, look around your house, your car, your relationship, your body, everything is caused by you. So immediately I know that people are in victim mode and I won't work with people that are in victim mode. If they say, "Well, I'm in a bad relationship and I can't do anything about it because blah 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 blah." Oh, I'm overweight and I can't do anything about it because this is just how I am. Immediately I know you're in victim and immediately I know that you're not going to have empowering stories that are actually going to help you. Now, if you don't have what you want, no problem. That's totally fine. This is not right or wrong. It's wherever you're at, but have the humility to see, yeah, I'm choosing to stay in this relationship. I'm choosing to live here. I'm choosing to be around this person. It is a choice. You are consenting to everything that happens in your life. And you are in victim if you're like, oh my, these things are happening to me.
Yeah. And also when you're in the victim mentality and it's like you're blaming everyone else for your situation, for your circumstances, you're giving everyone else the power and control over your future. You're basically saying, "Hey, I have zero control over my future." And I like it feels good to take the blame and take responsibility for your actions, win or lose. Um, and sometimes, like, I'll even take it a step further. Like, sometimes if it's like not 100% on me, and it might be primarily like due to something else that happened that was out of my control, I still like to say, "Hey, guys, like that's on me. That's my bad." Or let's say the situation where you know, this is a couple years ago. I'll give you an example. So I was at dinner, and I took my boat to Catalina Island, and I brought this girl with me. We've been hanging out just a little bit, but it was still very new. And I took her on a to a dinner, and I had some friends there that I care about, and I care about the relationship. I've known them for quite some time, and they had gotten into it at dinner because the girl that I brought said some things that set these other girls off, and these are girls I've known for a while. And all of a sudden, they're like popping off on this girl, and so I said, "Hey," like, some people would say, "Oh, that's on her, blah, blah, blah. I'm so sorry." No, it's like, "No, no, no." I said, "That's on me. I brought her. That's my bad. Let me go solve the situation. I'm gonna take her back to the boat. That's 100% on me. It will never happen again." And that feels good to be like in that instance or any instance, especially in business, to be like, "Hey, that's on me. It's my bad. I need to get better."
Yeah,
Because
that's
now,
radical ownership.
because now you're in fucking control,
Yes,
you
that's
know?
amazing. Yeah, I think it's also removing the emotionality from it. Being like, okay, this launch didn't go well. Of course, I can blame my team. I could blame the ads. I could blame the algorithm. But at the end of the day, I am the cause of what I create. So to just remove the emotion, look at it objectively. If this was somebody else, what would I tell them? If this was a client of mine, if this was a friend, and I'm looking at this without the emotion, without the blame, without the victim, how can I move forward better? And then if you're continuously in that process of optimization, you're going to be way faster than the person that's stuck in the loop of the algorithm hates me or the ads just fucked up.
That's so good. Yeah, so it's my buddy Champagne Dave, and he owns Champagne Yacht out here in San Diego. It's a big charter. And then he has another boat, Caviar Yacht, which is kind of his personal. So he's out in Catalina, goes out there all the time. I respect his relationship. I've been friends with his wife, Kelsey, for many years. We went to college together, and her girlfriends are all super nice. And so when I saw this situation happen in the restaurant, I was like, damn, that's not cool. And so I said, that's on me. I'm gonna take her back to the boat. And she had been drinking all day.
Yeah.
And so I take her back to the boat, and we end up getting in the tender. She falls into the water.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And so I get her back on the boat, and I already knew, like, when we went out to that dinner, I'm like, "I'm gonna send her home on the ferry first thing in the morning." So I take her back to the boat, let her sleep it off, and then in the morning, she wakes up, and I said, "Hey," like, I sat her down and said, "Hey, look, like, there's no hard feelings, but, like, what went down yesterday and last night is, like, not how I roll. I got you a ferry on the next ferry home. Take out the boat, grab some coffee, and then I'm gonna walk you over there." And I said, "There's 0 hard feelings at all," and sent her home, and that was it. And then I went back to Dave and Kelsey, and them. I said, "Hey, I apologize. I sent her home. I want you to know that's 100% on me." But it's like, you gotta diffuse the situation, and I'm not down. I have, like, a 0 tolerance for that kinda stuff, but there's a certain way that to handle it.
Yeah, that's amazing ownership. Also, shit's gonna happen to you. Shit's gonna go wrong. Things are gonna blow up. There's gonna be hurricanes and chaos. That is inevitable.
Mm,
You don't really get to choose if shit blows up. It's gonna blow up. What you get to choose is how you're gonna react to it. And actually, it can like problems can strengthen your relationships. They can strengthen your business. So even though that happened to you, I'm sure your relationship is even stronger because now they know your expectations. They know that they can trust you. They know it's not going to happen again. You shared vulnerably like an apology and what you're going to do different next time. I think that's really a powerful example.
yeah, 100%. And then I also think that, like, when you the more times you, like, get into situations like that and you just, like, diffuse it and, like, just take care of it right away, the more confidence you have to just continue doing that. And the more things, like, pop up like that for me all the time, and, as an entrepreneur, you're putting out fires left and right. And sometimes you might have to, like, get out of a meeting, receive some crazy news, and then boom, jump into a podcast, and you gotta turn it on, and, like, you gotta completely, like, zone out what's going on, and all the fires that you're putting out. It's just part of the game, but I think the more you do it, the more you kinda get numb to it, you know? Okay, so you say, rich versus poor mentality, or wealthy versus poor mentality. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I have a lot of wealthy friends, and I also have a lot of broke friends. And what I notice is that the behaviors are different, the conversations are different, and the attitudes are different. My wealthy friends are very much in a victor, I am responsible for everything mentality. My broke friends are often really stuck in the victim mentality. My wealthy friends spend time working out, working on their business, working on their relationship, spending time with their families, their kids. My broke friends often spend time watching a lot of sports, watching a lot of Netflix, scrolling a lot, complaining a lot, and consuming a lot of news. I find that my wealthy friends only consume news that's relevant to their industry or the thing that they're passionate about, where my broke friends consume news from every disaster ever, even if it's not relevant to them, everything going wrong, and are really in that echo chamber of going wrong.
Mm,
I also find that my wealthy friends, they talk about their self-development. They talk about working out, they talk about business, they talk about what they're excited about. They talk about, different like concepts of living and life. And my broke friends talk about celebrity gossip, they talk way more about sports, and they talk way more about news and what's going wrong. Interestingly, too, I think a lot of my broke friends talk a lot more about politics than my wealthy friends. And it's a super interesting dichotomy. And people get pissed when I say this. I'm like, I'm just sharing what I observed.
yes. Another thing is, I think a lot of broke people will talk about the past,
Yes.
and a lot of wealthy people will talk about the future.
Yeah.
For me, I like to talk 90% about the future, because the past is the past. I can't change it. But tomorrow I can change, right? And so if we're so caught up in the past, we don't have any time to actually, like, prep for the future.
Exactly.
And I think winners are more excited about what's happening tomorrow, not what happened yesterday.
Love that. Love that.
But that's good. That's really good. Everything you said, I completely agree with you. It's two different mentalities for sure, and that's why we
Yeah.
say get in the room full of winners, and good things happen.
Yeah. I say it because I was there. Like 2020, I was broke. I was angry. I was buying into the story of I'm a millennial, so I'm never gonna own a home. I'm never gonna have this or that. And it made me angry. And I just realized that the stories that I was consuming and the stories that I told myself were not productive. So one day, it was actually after listening to the Naval Ravikant How to Get Rich 3-hour long podcast, which by
Okay.
the way, if you haven't listened,
It's good.
it's the best piece of media I've ever consumed in my life. It turned around my life in 3 hours. You have to and give it to all of your clients. It's amazing. It's like the kind of the modern version of Think and Grow Rich,
Mm.
but in yeah, it's really
And
good.
it's a YouTube video?
It's a YouTube video.
What's
Yeah.
the name of it?
It's called How to Get Rich, Naval Ravikant.
Okay.
The title's clickbaity. He's not actually talking about how to get rich. He's talking about how to build wealth, but he addresses that of like, yo, this is clickbait, so you click on it. He's like, if you're broke and you clicked on this because you think it's how to get rich, you don't know about how to build wealth. Anyways, it's for all levels. It's really great. So that turned around my life in 3 hours. I went from victim, broke, in debt to being like, all right, I'm starting today. Let's fucking go. And I brainwashed myself. I literally created new social media accounts where I only followed winners because I couldn't afford to be in these rooms. I only followed winners. I only followed people that were doing the thing, that were moving forward, that were entrepreneurs. And I brainwashed myself into success. And 5 years later, I'm doing fucking great.
That's really good. Define wealth for yourself.
Wealth for myself is all time. The further I've progressed in entrepreneurship, the more I value my time. Because it's very easy to get to a point where you have what you want. I have a great house. I have an amazing car. I have an incredible relationship. I eat organic and healthy foods. I can invest in myself. Like, I pretty much have everything I want. And I realized that that was a pretty low bar. I used to think, like, oh, I want to be a billionaire and that's when I'll have everything I want. I can do pretty much anything right now. So now it's just optimizing for time. Like, wealth to me is just having the time to do what you want to do when you want to do it. What is wealth to you?
I would say for me, time, health, and freedom
Yeah.
is wealth because I think you need a little bit of money to get the freedom, but and everyone's number is kind of different. But once you get that financial freedom mark, then it's like you can really make decisions based on how you want to spend your time. And then I also say like a lot of the things that we cherish in life don't matter if you don't have your health. So for me, I think it's time, health, and freedom. So resonates with you, which is with a little caveat there, a little twist.
Yeah, health
Yeah.
is super valuable. I always just take it for granted, obviously. I'm like, I'm healthy, so I don't even think of health as a point of wealth, which is great, I think.
Courtney, I appreciate you coming on the show, and man, so good to connect. I love everything you're doing, love all your stuff, and I will definitely be rooting for you. Where can the folks get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Courtney Johnson. You can find me on LinkedIn, everywhere else at Courtney Johnson. If you just Google Courtney Johnson social media, all my stuff will come up.
Yes, she builds cringe-free personal brands.
Yes.
She is Courtney Johnson. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.